you have this situation with Plato's cave where he is describing precisely the nature of the human plight, and so the more you kind of you understand about this, and then you look at these ancient stories and the shamanistic stories and the stories going way back, and you see they'd sussed it. All that time ago, they'd sussed it. But now you have Orthodox science, which is just another religion, and with its holy books, the holy books of Orthodox science, that have put the lid on that in so many ways. And oh no, they were just primitives. No. They understood it more than you do, mate. So if we look at belief systems, what do belief systems do? I'm talking about religious belief systems, political belief systems, left and right.
Yeah.
What they do is they are prisons of the mind. And what also happens with terror is that it releases an adrenaline in the blood, which these Satanists in the human world conducting the ritual, to them it's a nectar. It's like a drug. And it's been described to me by Satanists and people against their will Satanists who've have experienced this, that when the Satanists drink the blood of the victim, that adrenaline, they can go absolutely bloody crazy, right? Because it's like a drug. And that's what we call adrenochrome.
Yeah.
And that's what these people, there's stories galore, Washington, D.C., etc., about, people drinking adrenochrome. That's this adrenaline-laced blood. So what you start to put together is that these entities operating in the astral dimension, they've been interacting with humans through satanic rituals and human sacrifice rituals all the way through what we call human history, because the aging process is non-existent in the astral. And they're still doing it today. And that's what these rich and famous Satanists that are major players in this cult are doing. They're interacting with these entities. And it's been described to me by Satanists around the world how in the major rituals they have seen entities appear through the energetic field into a ritual. They can't stay for very long, but they appear, and they sometimes, often they manifest as reptilian, but they're not always.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this. They probably have. But just listening to what you're saying there seems to be some similarities to aliens and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think that they are all the same form and we're just being told there is an alien, but it's out there and just to kind of distract us? And then my next question is, could you be a mixture of both? Are there people that are kind of going between fields?
Yeah, definitely. What we call aliens are overwhelmingly astral entities that come into this dimension. And there are also non-humans within the Earth. I mean, I've picked up enough information about that over the decades to say, okay, I can see that's a level as well. And a lot of these underground bases, what they call DUMBs, deep underground military bases, about 130 odd or more now in America and around the world, they go down levels, and you need a higher security clearance the lower you go. And so there's lots of people that work at these bases in the higher levels of the underground bases. They have no idea what's going on down here. But you go low enough and it opens out, and they interact with these non-human entities. And a lot of the, if not all, the really advanced technology is actually being transferred into the underground bases this way to human scientists. And then what they do is they bring it out into the human realm in a sequence. So we see on the surface in the human realm all the latest technology. Have you seen what they've discovered now? But actually, it's long been known about in the underground bases. It's coming out in a sequence, and what they then do is they get front people to front up how the whole thing came about and who discovered it and what have you. And some people, are not involved in this, and they do discover things. But I'm talking about this main thrust. And I remember a BBC documentary about Silicon Valley and the all the things that have been technologically created there. And there was this in this documentary, that was a 2-part documentary. There were a series of garage doors in Silicon Valley, and the voiceover was saying, yeah, and this so and so was discovered behind this garage door, and some was discovered by this behind this garage door, and so on. And I had this picture of people in the cult going, too many garage doors, mate. We need another cover story. They're not going to keep buying garage doors because it's coming out of the underground bases. And if you notice, since long past, there's no gap where people are strumming their fingers, sitting around a table thinking, well, we can't go to the next level of human control because we've got to have somebody discover the next level of technology. No, it's getting faster and faster and faster all the time because it already exists. So in terms of the entities in the astral dimension, they do come into this reality, and that's why they are, so many people around the world, and people call them nutters, of course, they say, look, I was in my bed and I woke up and this entity just appeared at the end of the bed. And someone else will say, oh, well, I saw this UFO and it appeared out of nowhere and then it disappeared into nowhere. And people go, oh my God, what have you been on, mate? But it's perfectly explainable.
Of course.
The electromagnetic spectrum, which is basically our experienced reality, is around 0.005% of the energy that exists in the universe in all its different forms. 0.005%. Some people say it's as high as 0.5%. Doesn't matter. It's tiny. Visible light, which is the only band of frequency we can see, everything we're looking at now is within that band of frequency.
Yeah, like we can't see the Wi-Fi, we can't see how you feel, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Exactly. The visible light is a smear of the 0.005%. So basically, if you said to people, you look around the space you're in, can you see everything in the space you're looking at? They go, oh, yeah, of course I can. You see all of it, yeah. No, you're seeing a band of frequency. So when a UFO or an entity enters visible light, you're able to see it. But to the observer, it's appeared out of nowhere. And when it leaves visible light, it appears to disappear into nowhere. But it hasn't disappeared at all. It's just entered and then left the frequency band that you can see.
Or have we had a personal, because sometimes you see people report UFOs and they'd say, I saw it, but my friend didn't. Is it a case of that we as humans have shifted our frequency to be able to see where that already exists?
100%. You see, everyone's operating on different frequencies. What we and your frequency overwhelmingly relates to your perception. So if you are in a perceptual state that says, I'm just little me, I've got no power, that you're operating in a very low vibrational state. If you self-identify with being an expression of all that is, has been, and ever can be, infinite awareness, having a brief human experience, then that self-identity, that expanded self-identity, means that you are operating on an expanded level of frequency. So everyone's operating on different frequencies, and our perceptions are basically dictating the frequency field on which we operate. And that's why I've been saying over all these years, the whole foundation of the conspiracy to enslave humanity is founded on control of perception. Because if they can bring you into a perception that says, I'm just little me and I'm only human, and when my body dies, then so do I. Or I'm subordinate to some judgmental God, and I've got to make sure that he judges me in the right way. That's a low vibrational state. And when you're within the matrix, you are in the matrix and of the matrix. You're getting your entire perceptions from the matrix, from the simulation. And the manipulation of the simulation. But when you expand your awareness, your self-identity, to actually I'm spirit, for want of a word. I am a state of awareness. I am a state of formless awareness that can experience infinity infinitely and do. But I'm now having a brief human experience. That is an expanded higher frequency. And so when you leave the body in that state of awareness of your true infinite self, you're freaking out of here.
Right, so I've got a question then. So how do all of our realities coexist? So, for example, with the whole war in Israel and Gaza, I had to stop watching it because I felt like it was really low vibe. And there was part of me that was like, I'm feeding into, maybe from a selfish point of view, I found the whole thing so horrific and unhuman that I decided to step back. I don't have any news outlets on my phone. Obviously, if I'm going to interview someone, I'll do some research. But how, if I'm here lifting my vibration and choosing to not see maybe what's happened, does that mean that someone else's reality is not mine? And how do they coexist?
We live in a world where the human body is the vehicle for infinite levels of consciousness to experience this realm. Because the body is interacting with this human frequency reality, you can have a high vibrational consciousness and you're still experiencing this reality because you're doing it through the body, which is interacting with this reality. Or you can have a very low vibrational consciousness and you're still experiencing this reality because the body's interacting with this reality. But what you can do, and it's something I've worked on over the years, is you can, and I've had to, frankly, because some of the stuff that I work with over the years, as you will have noticed,
so dark.
Yeah. So you have to find a way of researching it, writing about it, without getting caught in it,
Shielding yourself.
Yeah, and it's what I call becoming the observer. It's not that you are cold about a situation, but my philosophy is, if I can't do anything about it, certainly in the short term, then what's the point of me getting emotionally drawn into it? Because I'm just bringing myself down for no benefit for that situation. So, but what you can do is you can become an observer. You can become aware of the horrors that are going on, and you can do everything you can to expose the horrors and what's behind it and why. But you don't get emotionally pulled into it, because then you get drained for no benefit to the people that you're observing. And so I've reached a point where I can do that. Like, I've been exposing the horrors of Gaza and the Palestinians publicly since about 1994-95, when I started writing books about this stuff. And it staggers me that people are only just starting to see it, because they've been slaughtering Palestinians all the way through the years. And you can write about it, you can expose it, you can uncover what's behind it, but you have that you're observing, and to a very large extent, that's what takes you out of one of the greatest ways that we're pulled into the illusion, and that's drama. Drama all the time. If you turn the news on, what are you looking at? You're looking at a series of dramas. And what dramas do is they draw you in. They hijack your attention. And if you hijack your attention on something that's deeply unpleasant, then you're producing loose. That's affecting your emotional and mental state. But you can observe it without getting emotionally pulled into it. And that's what I'm not saying it's easy, but that's what I've worked on doing.
So how has this made you feel about God? Or whatever it is, because we spoke earlier about, you said your life's been driven by synchronicity, so something will happen and almost, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but some kind of guidance and something divine that is guiding you. So beyond that, it makes me feel that there's something perhaps good that would be guiding you to raise an awareness. And how does that make you feel about the ultimate creator or towards God or the universe?
Well, this is what I go into in part of the roadmap. There's 28 chapters in the roadmap, plus a postscript. About 5 chapters are about religion. We have been manipulated, I say we as a human race, to worship that which is controlling us, while believing it is the goodness that's people call God. We have been so manipulated that if you think that they say there's 8 billion people in the world, it's estimated that about 5.4 billion of them identify either as Christian, Muslim, or Hindu. Never mind all the other religions. And so what are these religions, and where do they come from? This brings us to a massively important point of how the few control the many. And if you look through history, how it's always been like that. Look through history. The few have always controlled the many. How do they do that? Well, they get the many, first of all, to give their power to the few, but they also get the many locked in to rigid, unquestioning belief systems.
Almost like Plato's cave, isn't it?
Yeah, Plato's cave was a very symbolic way of describing the human plight. What I'm talking about with the illusory matrix, etc., the Plato's cave was describing all that, all those centuries ago. For people who haven't come across Plato's cave, the story he told, and basically people forget this, what Plato was doing was describing what his mentor Socrates said. So it's called Plato's cave, but really it was
Socrates' idea.
Socrates' story. And it was that there's a cave and there's all these prisoners shackled in the cave, and the only thing they can see is one wall of the cave. There's a fire behind them, and there's people walking past the fire, and they're casting shadows on the wall. And because the prisoners can only see the frickin' wall,
they can only see the shadows.
They think that's reality. And it's an interesting part of the story, very relevant, where some of the prisoners became experts on the shadows on the wall. That's the academics and the orthodox scientists. They're taking an illusion and thinking it's real and looking at it, but not realizing it's an illusion. One of the prisoners escapes, gets out, realizes that actually it is an illusion, the world's very different, comes back, tries to tell the prisoners.
It's a bit like you.
Yeah. Tries to
I
tell
think
the
that's what
prisoners,
it is.
hey, it's an illusion.
Yeah.
And they go crazy. They want to kill him.
Yeah, they call him crazy, basically.
Yeah, basically that's what I mean. That's the way the way it works. But you have this situation with Plato's cave where he is describing precisely the nature of the human plight, and so the more you kind of you understand about this, and then you look at these ancient stories and the shamanistic stories and the stories going way back, and you see they'd sussed it. All that time ago, they'd sussed it. But now you have Orthodox science, which is just another religion, and with its holy books, the holy books of Orthodox science, that have put the lid on that in so many ways. And oh no, they were just primitives. No. They understood it more than you do, mate. So if we look at belief systems, what do belief systems do? I'm talking about religious belief systems, political belief systems, left and right.
Yeah.
What they do is they are prisons of the mind, right? So if I am a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu or follow Judaism, whatever, then I have a story. And I have a story that has limits. And if I go beyond the story, then I'm a blasphemer. I'm no longer a Christian or a Muslim or whatever. So if I'm going to still be that religious follower, I have to stay within the story. And on the other side, and see, this is why I've said over the years, this cult couldn't care less what you believe, so long as you believe it rigidly and without question, because then they got you. Because you will not, therefore, to stay in the religion, go beyond it into the infinity of potential knowledge, understanding, insight. You won't go there, because if you go there, these walls fall and your religious belief disappears. I talk in the roadmap about the historical background to these religions, these major religions, and it never happened, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it never happened. Look at the evidence, and so you then have a political belief system, like I'm of the left. And if you're talking about that, you're not of the left anymore. You sound like right to me. And okay, I'll stay in the box because I want to stay in the. I want you to think I'm a lefty. And then you've got the right. They're a box. And anyone that says, oh, well, maybe the left have got something to valid. Oh, no, you're not MAGA anymore, right? And so all these belief systems are prisons of the mind, rigid prisons of the mind. And they have one thing in common. You will not explore infinity of possibility beyond the belief system because you'll no longer be the belief system. And so once they've created, I say they, this network of control, once they've created the belief systems, rigid, unquestioning, they play them off against each other. And they divide and rule the target population. So we're fighting among ourselves to such an extent that we don't look up and see that the same hand is holding the strings to all of us. And laughing.
But when we spoke earlier, when we were talking about this new normal and the world's changed, for me, I feel like the kind of trans explosion and for me, the core of what is male and female, and we now have to accept that people can have gender dysmorphia and you can be a trans and you can be this. Do you think this is part of a wider plan to distort us?
First of all, we are being moved step by step. I've been writing about this for a long time, towards a different human body that's far more synthetic and does not procreate as we now procreate. And when you look at books like Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, written in 1932, he's talking about this. He's talking about world stage hatcheries and how children no longer have parents. They're brought up by the state, and they're brought up in certain ways to program them from birth to be subordinate to the state, and how they are procreated through technological means. And the kind of things that he wrote about in 1932, the technology, it's coming online. They're introducing it, like technological wombs, etc.
But even like you said, the synthetic bodies, do you think